Hello and welcome to this episode of podcast on Indian carbon market for climate action front. I'm Shubham Thakur and today we have Dr. Manuj Bhardwaj, a very close friend and also a globally renowned CBAM and carbon market experts. He is the only lawyer to become an IPCC doctoral scholar, having worked with many multilateral organizations like World Bank and most recently with the World Trade Organization in Geneva. He has been examining the EU and UK CBAM very closely and also writing book on the same. He is also, as I said, uh, Indian in India and globally a renowned, popular and respected Indian carbon market expert and global carbon market expert. Currently, he is heading India's only program on trade, carbon markets and sustainability program at Dhirubhai Ambani University School of Law in Gandhinagar. Thank you so much, Dr. Manuj, for doing this interview and talking to us at Climate Action Front, of which he is also a part as senior advisor and a torchbearer and a guide for the team that we lead here. My first question, and we'll keep this open-ended, Manoj. So wherever we feel like touching, we have absolute freedom. First, I want to understand your opening remarks on what are the key design features and limitations of the Indian carbon market, and how can we compare it with established carbon market, which is UETS, which is one of the popular and early carbon markets internationally. How do you compare and see where do we have limitations in the context of entering compliance market from next year onwards?
Thanks, Shivam. Thanks for having me here, and always a delight to be a part of any initiatives that you are leading. So, thank you very much. And what we're trying to build at Climate Action Front is like really interesting. So, thank you so much for inviting me to talk about Indian carbon markets. It's a very interesting discourse that is going on right now, and so much is happening around. Uh, I'll also mention that like why it is important and interesting for me. I cannot exactly name the project, but one of the biggest projects of Indian voluntary carbon market, which is going on right now in one of the central states in India. I worked on it when I was in the US, and so there was a law firm which I was a part of, and anything or everything regulatory, creating special purpose vehicle, getting into contracts with the farmers. So it was a ARR, afforestation, reforestation, revegetation project, which is being done by a foreign company for in terms of investment. And now one of the biggest tech companies is buying the carbon credits. So very successfully done. So I understand like how it works. So let's do some context setting in terms of the Indian carbon market, the compliance carbon market the government of India is trying to create under the leadership of Bureau of Energy Efficiency. So it's actually evolving from the PAT scheme, and which is Perform, Achieve, and Trade scheme, right? And also, like this climate finance taxonomy has also come into the picture through Ministry of Finance, which is so. I'll also give a relation like why to see both these regulatory frameworks is important because it's actually to achieve sustainable finance, climate finance at the end. So these developments are basically aimed to align India's global sustainable finance frameworks and to channel private and public capital into green transition sectors and make Indian carbon credits credible, tradable, and investment grade. Because that's very important. You create carbon credits, but if unless and until if they are credible, if they're not tradable and they are not investment grade, then there is no benefit of doing that. So the entire work of making the carbon credits worthy is going around. There are a few challenges that I would like to speak about. That uh, there is no single regulatory body right now, and this may be a like a ongoing development that's happening in the country, but there is no regulatory fragmentation. So when it comes to carbon markets or green finance, the responsibilities are split between different agencies like RBI, BEE, somehow SEBI might be involved. I'm not sure, but there's a very like regulatory fragmentation. Now, again, the clarity, lack in clarity on the ownership, enforceability of carbon credits, especially in the voluntary and versus compliance markets, is also a problem. Then uh, I would also say that India lacks a consolidated taxonomy
Yeah.
that defines what qualifies as green, what qualifies as transitional, or maybe like internationally, if people who are watching gonna watch this or understand like brown assets, like unlike the EU. So we take EU as a flag bearer of sustainability frameworks when it comes to trade, when it comes to carbon markets. So let's talk about you and let's not shy away from it.
Yeah.
So there is a lack of consolidated taxonomy in that. And also, because we are talking about carbon markets, we are talking about taxonomy, this actually causes a lot of inconsistency in ESG reporting and issue of green bond, and it also affects investor confidence. So that's a problem. Then there is this issue of carbon credit integrity. Many Indian carbon credits in the voluntary market face scrutiny over additional and baseline manipulation, which we also struggled, like which I also struggled when I was working for that particular law firm, and we were getting into this carbon credit creation. So there is a lot of scrutiny over additional and baseline manipulation. And also, there's a global shift toward high integrity carbon credits, which are ICVCM standards, if I'm not wrong. And so they could invalidate or devalue legacy Indian offsets. So, what I'm trying to say is like, well, BE is doing it and they have done it very nicely. They've organized this conference, Prakriti, to
Yeah.
bring in all these international experts. And we were also discussing
Yeah.
about that. So, that's also a very nice way of doing it, like bring in best practices across the globe. And also in this, Shubham, I would say market readiness and capacity is again very important. Uh, we cannot ignore MSMEs, because the lack in technical ability to measure and report emissions with MRV standards needed for credible trading.
So
So
these
they
are
are
my
the biggest.
follow-up questions, Manoj. Sorry to
Sure,
interrupt.
sure, sure.
First, because you have touched multiple things. First, I want to understand how do you think should Indian carbon market evolve to ensure that there is proper inclusion of MSMEs, as you were trying to convey? All the sectors, how do we ensure that you bring them all on the same platform, understand what are their challenges, and then you launch Indian carbon market in its compliance format, which is going to be from 2026? How do you see this? Because of lack of, as you said, MRV, like monitoring, reporting, and verification methods.
See, the need is to bring in all these agencies, oh sorry, industries, MSMEs together. How do we do it? I mean, there are chambers of commerce, there are various industry associations that are dealing with it. I haven't seen, and could be like I could be wrong on my part, that I haven't seen any inclusion from the MSME sectors in all this carbon market creation. Because see, Shubham, you need to understand. Again, I cannot name the company, but they're one of the best credible agencies that are working to create carbon markets. They told me that the it's not just about the big industries, those who are going to play in carbon markets. For example, you create a ARR project, right? Afforestation, reforestation, vegetation project. Now there will be n number of farmers who will be working for you, who will be working for that carbon credits. Now, not every farmer will like get into contract with you singularly. Like, okay, thousands of farmers and thousands of contract. No, they are usually in various clusters, like in Uttar Pradesh and Maharashtra. There are small industries, MSMEs, those who create a group of farmers, maybe 500, 5,000 farmers, and they provide them, I would say, a structural way of working or getting finances, of earning money. So they partner with all these the carbon credit developer agencies. So these players are not taken into consideration while they are creating carbon markets. That what are the issues that these carbon market compliance or regulations can face. So they have to bring brought in into the picture, and they have to be given a stage, given a table or a chair or whatever to understand their concerns.
Do you
Now the
also,
second thing is
yeah, yeah, Karim.
sure,
No, I
yeah.
was saying, do you also think there is challenge in terms of accurate carbon accounting, because this entire carbon market is related with accurate data collection and then minimizing your climate risk, right? Do you think, do we have any proper structuring around that when it comes to I think CCTS enough? How do you see that when it comes to carbon accounting itself?
Absolutely. See, I don't fully agree with that. Like, okay, if CCTS is going to play into the picture, everything will be fine.
Hmm.
You need to have that ecosystem across in terms of data reporting, carbon accounting. I mean, I can even like count on my fingers on like just one hand that there are few carbon accounting firms doing great work, and those who understand what they are doing, what data they are developing. So the ecosystem has to develop the knowledge. For example, what we are doing at Dhirubhai Ambani University School of Law under this program, we are creating that knowledge that there is a knowledge gap. People don't know like what markets are. There is a certain group of people like you and me and other people, those who understand what carbon markets and carbon credits are, but they are going to affect everyone. So there's a knowledge creation needed on that
Yeah.
from on a lot of different levels, academic level, industry level, I would say at an ecosystem level. Because see, India's carbon market is at a turning point. We are creating it. It can either lead the country in the green finance or could be sidelined by opaque standard. So
Hmm.
we need to have more and more involvement and consultation of people and experts, those who understand it. So and also again, what's the harm in also getting in touch with EU ETS framework people who have created it to understand like how it works. See, now it is also important to understand that a market like India is very different from a market like EU. So
Exactly.
at the same time, while you are integrating ETS related framework into your carbon market compliance or regulations, you need to understand the ground realities of India, which cannot happen just by sitting at the top and consulting like 4 to 5 groups.
No, but
Uh,
if
sure.
I could ask you, what could be the major limitations if you are looking at UATS and want to maybe create a mirror image here? Is it the infrastructure that we do not have robust infrastructure of data collection or verification method? What are those limitations?
But to be honest, see, since it's an evolving thing right now, the Indian carbon market is getting developed, and I was not in India for a long period of
Yeah.
time. Now I've come back. What I think is the problem, the limitation is of like involving people who understand that work. What I've been seeing from this debate, this interaction going on, uh, a selected group of people are being targeted to understand and to create this framework.
Hmm.
There's need to be a wider consultation. When I'm saying wider, everyone, academia should be involved, industry should be involved, and uh, the companies, the agencies, those who are into data collections, data crunching, carbon accounting, they need to be included. I don't know how many data collection and carbon accounting firms are included into like while this consultation was being done for creating Indian carbon markets, because it's all about data. Even to get your credit, carbon credit investment grade worthy, the data collection is important. And what are the process, what is the metadata has been followed, what has been collected to make this credit, I would say, trade worthy, right? That's what we are trying to do. So
Now,
that is the challenge of from that I see from my perspective.
now we all know that climate change is no longer uh, issue which is dealing at if affecting us at a humanitarian level, but it is also killing our economies, businesses, trade, money, revenue, etc., etc. Do you think we in India have a required resources and infrastructure which is needed for credible carbon accounting, as you are already touching upon, to avert financial risks of climate change on the business operations?
Sadly, I can say in one word, no. It's not there. I sometimes when I was working like internationally, when I was based in the US, we wanted to like get in touch with a Indian local firm which is into carbon accounting.
Mhm.
There are few firms that those who display or those who project themselves as like they are leaders in carbon accounting or maybe ESG reporting sometimes for a carbon markets perspective. But when we got in touch with them, the expertise was not there. There was a lack of expertise, and this I'm talking from like last past 4 years, I would say 4 or 5 years, but now there must be some good carbon accounting firms. So I think the government has to focus on like okay, the private sector will come into the play, because you cannot imagine a compliance carbon market without the private sector. So why not do a discourse or maybe a round table or a
But
conference on like.
yeah, but so do you think what can be done to bring this credibility? For example, there is a platform, any platform, and it is offering you carbon accounting service, as you said. But there's a challenge. How do you trust that organization? Should you have a government certification, or should we have some robust mechanism which the private accounting players or the tools that they're developing can be trusted? How do you think this credibility factor can be handled better?
I think the government can come up with some standards,
Mhm.
like that. If you are doing this accounting, I don't know, because I'm not a carbon like accounting expert, I'm
Yeah,
a
yeah, yeah,
policy guy.
yeah.
But there should be a standard, for example, like ISO or something, like from Indian side,
Hmm.
that these are the standards that you have to follow. And maybe the governments, like the different agencies, can sit together, those who deal with this financial part of it, and create that this is the toolkit, this is the framework that
Hmm.
all the auditing agencies and this carbon accounting agencies have to follow. Then only they'll be considered worthy. And that framework creation has to be done in tandem with international agencies like World Bank, WTO, IMF, because then only you can see that our framework of accounting the carbon, of calculating the carbon, is at par with international standards, which will also help you in CBAM reporting and all the other stuff. So data is the key. Evidence backed, anything which is evidence backed, data backed is helpful for any country or individual to put forth his or her stand.
If I were to ask you the last question, in your experience, since you have dealt with many, many companies and from all the sides, how do you think inaccurate carbon accounting or management of carbon emission is impacting or maybe even killing the economy or businesses, or making companies suffer from competitive disadvantage when they want to unlock their business opportunities globally, not just in India? How do you think they can avoid trade penalties and trade barriers with accurate carbon accounting? And if it is happening.
Sure. So two things are happening: under-reporting and over-reporting.
Hmm.
When we come to accounting, so in under-reporting, what's happening is like the company or the organization or the manufacturer is doing great work,
Hmm.
but the company which is advising them is not like having expertise to properly account their carbon or their efforts, what they're doing. For example, like the ESG reporting, right?
Hmm.
If you're doing great work, but if your ESG accounting firm is not able to deliver that into your ESG report, your prospective investors will not come to you, right?
Hmm.
You might be thinking that you'll attract investors. So in that similar way, they are losing opportunities. Now, over reporting, for example, like you are doing greenwashing, right? What you're not doing and putting in your reports or your carbon accounting reports, the international agencies or the investors will see, okay, or any like trade body will see that, okay, this is over reporting, this is greenwashing, they are actually not doing it. So that's what is happening with the like issue. That's the issue with the carbon accounting. So it is needed to be understand from the board level, from the CEO level, from the C-suite level, that whatever accounting firm that we are going to is not under-reporting or over-reporting our efforts.
And is it happening currently? Is it actually
Oh, this
happening?
is happening a lot. Like we do a lot of greenwashing compliance. As a lawyer, I also consult various organizations and law firms on greenwashing. I'll tell you very quickly about this also. So, in terms of greenwashing litigation, under-reporting and over-reporting, a lot of law firms in India are also not prepared. Like they don't understand what carbon market is, like what ESG is. I mean, people talk about because they are buzzwords, but when it comes to like
Hmm.
actually representing the companies, there is a issue in expertise. So
Yeah.
which is happening on ground. It's a reality.
Okay. So, what I gather from this conversation is that not just carbon accounting, but credible and accurate data collection, not under-reporting or over-reporting. Only then you're
Mhm.
going to get a clear picture which can be used to avoid financial risks on the business, which is already happening in your experience because we have dealt with many greenwashing cases, data-related issues, etc., etc. Thank you so much, Dr. Manuj, for your time and really thought-provoking conversation. At least I enjoyed it. I hope the audience likes. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you.
Thanks for having me, Shubham. Thank you very much.